You are watching clips from the over 2-hour and 20-minute documentary, Entities, The Unveiling.
And a special thanks to the members of the Roosevelt family who are here, and to one who is not, Eleanor.
That's a real demon face with shifty eyes looking into a camera right there. The face should not be there.
Because as all of you famously learned when I served as president, my wife, now the Secretary of State, was known to commune with Eleanor on a regular basis. And so she called me last night on her way home from Peru to remind me to say that Eleanor had talked to her and reminded her that I should say that.
Manu, are you there? Emily? Yes. Hello, Manu.
Have any of you ever seen Jesus Christ?
Were grayish in color. They had big eyes. They looked like serpent eyes or snake eyes or cat eyes, and they had little sharp teeth in their mouth, and they looked like what people describe as the gray alien beings.
If that is you, would you please shut that door? Oh my.
It appears to close on its own.
Now, deep out there in the Amazon jungle, Robert, where you're at, you feel like the cult and manifestations are thicker in the jungles than they are even by the blood sacrifice temples.
Well, it just seems that, and it's well known that the Indian witchcraft is very strong.
We are going all the way on this one. Right here. Now we're going to zoom in on this guy. These are 3 different angles coming on the same unusual little light in the sky.
Now, I can tell you, like in a camp that we had in the jungle one time, we would have these balls of light just coming up out of the ground.
See how bright these little suckers are too.
The one case that we saw in our camp was balls of light coming out of the ground.
And they were...
I also had one attack me.
Randy, and you're telling me that this gal who you correspond back and forth with, who's taking these images, that when she sees these things, they got little legs and little wingies and this kind of thing, like this thing right here.
I have a scar on my face. I got attacked by one, but I didn't see it. It just hit me in the head with a piece of wood.
Shooting around.
Yeah.
This is her garden?
Yeah, this is her garden in her backyard. And so, yeah, these beings, they travel through the bushes, they travel through solid objects like that metal bar there, and they even go through the walls. So it's amazing, but I see this with orbs as well.
One of them is going to make a decision to take off from the herd right after he changes color, which is an interesting effect. So he has just shot off and then vanishes. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. 1, 2, 3, and go. You almost want to see that one twice.
And she literally started this garden, and once this garden was finished, she said all of a sudden she started taking videos and these little beings started showing up. You can clearly see that it goes through that metal bar there. There's like a T-shaped bar there. It goes right directly through the center of that bar. You clearly can see this thing going through a solid object, which is very unusual. But this is like an etheric being. It's a light being that Jill captures on video, and she uses a cell phone to do this, and she's been doing this for years.
Oh my gosh, I about fell to my knees. I trembled because as soon as I said it, you never think that's going to happen.
We're going on the journey behind the veil on this one.
Story that began in the 1980s.
A story that started with a woman's rather remarkable claim. She said a 35,000-year-old warrior spirit had appeared before her, borrowed her body, and used her voice to teach.
I instantly knew that this was hell. I was like, oh no, everything I heard about hell is real.
We would like to ask the question of the appearance of your space.
Have you been to heaven or hell?
like limbo of like I'm about to go to hell, but I'm in my body and it's about to happen.
No matter how grisly this rodeo gets, it's gonna end well. Did you know that the aliens from the Aliens movies were based on H.R. Geiger's hellish, mechanical, nightmare worlds of demons? I've got this other little guy right here. He appears to have liked what the last guy did, so there he goes. But something tells me that we're gonna find a lot bigger picture than the old creepy crawlies before we get to the end. Without further ado, welcome to Entities, the unveiling. Shall we begin?
The miners have in the mountains, now this is in the mountains, and there's a small, like, we would call them a troll, like a mining troll. They have another name for it. I think it's Chuichaki.
So this is legitimate, Trey, and you're seeing a real fairy here. If you've never seen one before, you can say you've seen one now.
So it's a little man that appears, this lives in the mine. He's like this is spirit, but it manifests in the physical form. And I've talked to many of my workers that have seen him. One of them appeared to him, and he was just terrified. And he ran out and ran down the mountain to the camp and told us. And he said he'd never go back up there again at night.
The story of the Greys is the story of an attempt on the part of these beings as they create by drawing people together, certain people that they have chosen together for their genetic patterns and genetic makeup, to over the years create a certain child with a certain types of ability, a certain level of intelligence, and they intend to use this child as the means by which they will communicate with the world.
Whitley claimed in his book Communion that beings like this one right here were tormenting his life and appearing in his home in the woods in upstate New York.
Hologrammed out, which was very common, really lovely personalities these guys have, really understanding and warm, you know what I mean? And they hologrammed out what looked like my brother. Well, it was my brother, and he was in a hospital, and he was in the hospital bed clutching his heart as if he was dying of a heart attack. So the message was, if you don't do this, harm is going to come to your family.
I was deeply involved with the occult, Satanism. I believed personally that there was a different solution for what was going on in the world. I believed that the aliens had created us, that these UFOs and these aliens were here to help us, and that they were going to be friendly. We're going to contact them, and there was going to be some kind of revealing of the truth of this to mankind.
And it's the same thing of a spiritual warfare, but we also have to realize who we are in Him to take over those things. And a lot of churches aren't teaching us who we are in Him as citizens of the kingdom of God.
This footage here comes out of South America, specifically Colombia. This is a soldier laying on the ground down here. He's shaking awake, and what you're going to see is his little head looks up, and uh-oh, there's something going on down there.
Manifestations happen.
1, 2, 3, and go. Look at what's happening to the legs down here, where the bottom of the body is getting literally lifted up. So he's crawling this way, trying to get away. He's waking up to this, by the way. So something's grabbing him out of the trees. Yeah, that can't be good. Hopefully he give his buddy a big thank you after that.
There is things that happen in homes. Either those bad spirits come in, or something happening bad in a house. Because I have a lot of different experiences where I've gone into house and prayed over houses. We can pray over a house.
And of course, this one here is a very famous case out of Indiana.
Perhaps even more disturbing tonight, a report out of Indiana. You may have seen this on The Factor. Wait until you hear where we're taking the story. The reports suggest that demons took over a family and their home.
We can pray over houses, we can anoint the doors, we can cast the demons, we can cast those demonic forces out.
Where a woman's son was actually reported to have been walking backwards up the wall, seen by police. And
police also thought the story was a hoax until they went to the house and saw blinds dripping with oil and water where there was no source, and a mysterious figure in a window when no one was home.
Child Protective Services, and they actually filed this on their reports.
37-year police veteran Captain Charles Austin saying, quote, "Every one of us who was there that day in the basement and who saw what we saw, we all think the same. We call it the same. That bit of dirt is a portal to hell."
Speaking of entities in television, these clips behind me come from the Merv Griffin show. It was broadcast on live television in the 1980s, specifically in 1985. This gal right here, her name is Jay-Z Knight. She became popular with the celebrity crowd.
One super consciousness has been acclaimed here. It's shut in with 2,000 years.
Right here on live television, what is allegedly occurring is that Jay-Z is going into, of course, a trance state, at which point a being, an ancient spirit, is going to take over her body and actually do an interview with Merv Griffin on live television. As absurd as this would otherwise seem, that's actually the idea going on right there.
Where are you when you're not here?
Would you like to see?
No.
Why would you not want to see?
Well, it might not be the kind of place I want to hang out in, you know. I'm very happy here, my little studio, my little couch.
It is a wondrous place here, isn't it?
Now wait just a second, I know exactly what you're thinking, and I completely agree with you that demon back there has got an awful English accent. But if we're willing to overlook that for just a second,
what can we look forward to?
What were you afraid you would see?
No, nothing. I'm wide open to accept whatever comes.
I know.
Spooky, isn't it? Yeah, the face gets all hardened up in there.
For standing up for yourself.
You're gonna find this channeling of the entities, the aliens, everything from the Pleiadians all the way to the reptilians, which is what this guy here claims that he's spewing forth from the entity inside of him.
You understand nothing, but you think you... Yes. Thank you. That's good.
And that's pretty well gonna dive us into the dark underbelly of the alien abduction phenomenon.
It's commonly what are referred to as grays. I would say 95 to 98%. The other 3 to 5% would be what are commonly referred to as reptilians. They have scales, so I just know they have scales, so that's what people label them as that. The grays in particular, for starters, why is it that it's not very nice to be around these guys? First of all, they radiate an energy. It's a miserably uncomfortable energy.
That's Jim Sparks. He's one of the more compelling speakers in the alien abduction community. Often these folks are called experiencers. Now this lady here, her name is Dr. Carla Turner. And Dr. Turner, by the way, back there on the screen, this gal stuck out like a sore thumb at the UFO, which are largely, particularly back at that time in the 1990s, largely New Age conventions. And one of the things she was quick to point out is obviously the connection between the supernatural and the alien dudes back here. This is an actual, this actually showed up not far from where you live. Is that true?
Yeah, it's I think it's about 50 miles from here. So once I go over the hills, it's pretty much there. It's just on the other side of the hills.
That's merely the intro, by the way, of the disc that looks like this in real life. And in the unveiling, this is the play screen for it, by the way. I'm fairly certain get to the bottom of Roswell. In fact, I think we can do it in under 15 minutes in a way that probably shock you. These next clips come out of Entities, The Beginning, the first disc of the 2-disc set. These two things don't match. Before we get to that part of you and I's story.
It also, think about this, why would you call giants earthborn? Well, it's because their fathers were not of the earth. They were the heavens. They were the B'nai Elohim. They were the angels.
The old bulls of Bashan and the serpent are going to buck around a bit before this rodeo's over.
The Greeks called the giants gigantes, and that's where you get the word giant from. Also, that word in Greek, this will blow your mind, Trey. This is awesome. It's where you get the word genome and gene from.
This right here, this is the Castle Now giant. This is an actual giant, peer-reviewed, from the 1890s.
My hand is a London artifact. This was discovered in June of 1934 near London, Texas. This artifact is composed of a metal hammer, but it's encased in Cretaceous rock. It is, in evolutionary terms, 110 to 120 million years ago.
These are the mysterious stone orbs or spheres. These are giant. And in this bad boy right here, Entities The Beginning, we are definitely going to go through some of the most unusual archaeological finds on the planet Earth.
If I could add a little bit of information, if we go back to the scripture, it says that God rained fire and brimstone on those cities. A lot of people assume that the brimstone is what caused those cities to burn up like they did. But you have to remember, our God is a consuming fire.
The man who I am on the phone with there, Richard Reeves, is one of the two men who discovered Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, I'm sorry. You probably heard that the Bible was ridiculous and that Sodom and Gomorrah didn't exist. Let me ask you this: was it people making these that said that to you? The people that believe in believe there was a planet of the Planet of the Apes world movies, or actual history? Those people. Actually, this one here has quite quickly became one of my personal favorites from that science smart crowd of people here. This one's got a glow stick. This was supposed to be what the Neanderthal looked like. Maybe they didn't know about the Sodom and Gomorrah discovery because they were too busy bowing down to their plastic monkey idols and polishing their the glow sticks. I didn't actually mean it like. And wouldn't be right if we also didn't do the Ark of the Covenant, would it?
When called and asked if he knew Ron Wyatt, he said no. If you'll look at this picture, you'll see that the truth is something else.
On one hand, people screaming all around, show us the evidence, man. You better have an ark to pull out of your back pocket, otherwise we're calling you a liar. From the Christian community all the way to official government denials. about what came out of that dig site 30 feet underneath Jerusalem.
And one of the shots that we got from the side showed a level of contents in the chamber with lessened contents near the bottom. And in experimentation, we find that this usually represents something that's standing on legs or up on some sort of a pedestal.
And on the other side of the coin, people, even at Ron Wyatt's deathbed, to the very day he died, asking the man who it almost seemed God himself was leading in and out of some of the most treacherous and dangerous places on earth, unscathed, but at his very deathbed, to the very last day of his life, in fact, the very last breath that he had left, Ron's answer, boldly, was that he had told the truth.
We're going to attempt to put a hole through there with this drill.
Hopping right back over to Entities Disc 2, the unveiling. But when this photograph back here was taken, that drawing, can you put that drawing back up? So this drawing right here is what literally the photographer thought that he was seeing in the room before he snapped the shot. And then this thing appears.
Yeah.
You can see the guy is in his room or his home, and right here in front of the camera, we see this bright light. It's almost as if it's holding in its hand. And again, that orb of light wasn't, I mean, it shouldn't be there. There's no light source there. At least there shouldn't be.
Right.
That's in the room. Okay, yeah. It is being held up or in hand by,
they drew a sketch of what was standing with this guy when he took the picture, and this is what's standing behind him, in front of him, through him.
Now, Ted, you had mentioned to me before, sort of through the woodwork and secret societies, large, perhaps religious organizations, this kind of thing, that there was a certain term that people used when working with demons, whether they were physical or not, these entities, that they didn't want to use the name Jesus if they're referring to Jesus with the entities, these powerful people, whether it be a physical entity or whether it be, more of a loosey-goosey thing, that there was some other term that they used for Jesus. Is that true?
Yeah, it's universal law, because it's like being shot. I mean, it's like that deadly force to them. It's a terror, and they acknowledge God, but they call it universal law.
It's not a pretty sight, and I think that's what we're witnessing here. I think we're witnessing with the eyes, with this on his side. It's something pretty chilling at the very least. But I believe it had a great effect on his life. Therefore, I would definitely say that it's demonic. But
raises the knife in a salute, and then the scissors, and plunges them into this man's skull. I know I've lost most of you here. I can only tell you what I saw.
You identify yourself, tell me who you are. A lot of times they don't want to tell me exactly who they are, and a lot of times they will. You'll get some that will just keep yakking away. But what I do is I tell them, I said, you speak the truth to me under oath to Christ. I work for Christ. You're dealing with me, you're dealing with Christ. And if you keep me waiting, you're going to keep Christ waiting.
And they respond to this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And he begins to part the skull, and he opens things up, and he's sticking his hand in there. And the man who was having the operation is saying, this is really freaky. I can feel the hand inside my head.
Casper, you actually used to play with some of the very large bands. Is that true?
That would most likely be like the big header bands of the 80s and things. Yeah, I think so.
And a little detail that you might find fascinating.
Okay.
Okay, first of all,
These are some from Sunbeam Archives.
Okay.
Our archives.
I was just sitting in as a guest artist one night, and I walked off stage, and it was been about like 98, I think, and we just played in front of like 10,000 people, and so you can get a bit of adrenaline going when you've got a big crowd like that.
So we got some lanterns, and believe it or not, if you're able to actually go on the other side of this and above it and get into the monastery, there's a walkway between the structures where there is an entrance into the ground.
I am telling you right now that you do not need an alien for free energy. Michael Hughes, who's about to tell you what he discovered right behind the tomb of Jesus Christ in a cave underneath the ground. These guys make sun-powered motorbikes, bicycles that go 30 miles an hour. They make power boards that light entire homes. This on the screen behind, that is a sun-powered Sunbeam sports car. I'm telling you straight, that thing right there would turn both Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla's heads.
Now imagine the Garden Tomb. I'm going to show you my shot of the Garden Tomb. Recognize that?
Yeah, same thing on the,
But when I stopped playing my guitar, it was almost like the Holy Spirit filled in the places that I stopped playing, because I have that reputation of being a virtuoso guitar guy since I was on Atlantic Records all these years. And so they turn around going, wow, what's Casper doing on a guitar? That's really amazing. I never heard a guitar sound like that, and I wasn't playing at all. It was just this sound that just, this cosmic sound that just surrounded us.
We went over the top of Joseph's, Joseph's garden.
Yeah.
We got over the top. On that walkway, an old ancient walkway, we removed one of the stone sections of the walkway. Underneath is an entrance to a cave.
I just remember dying. I mean, my body, I just remember it happened very quickly. There was nothing I could do about it.
Yeah.
When you go through there,
we're going deep on this one. That's Hezekiah's tunnel right there. Still there to this very day. It's also the intro screen for Entities, The Beginning. And the clips that you just watched, which come out of Entities, The Unveiling, this guy right here, those particular clips, those aren't necessarily in order. I sort of picked clips from here, there, and yonder. I also wanted to get a light sprinkle of some of the tamer entity stuff tucked up in there. There are some sizable manifestations and surprises held back in there for you.
What people are seeing with UFOs and entities is something very powerful behind the scenes in a spiritual warfare that's going on that we don't normally see, but for some reason these things are bursting forth.
It's not just that these things right here are redundantly covered in your Bible over and over and over again, as well as their little dimensional doorways. And by the way, they didn't get that name, the name demons or devils or evil spirits. They didn't accidentally get that. They have earned that name, going all the way back to the dark gods of Egypt and beyond, the birthplace of every single occult practice leading to this very modern age. The mother of all harlots, Babylon herself, and even beyond, hopping over, even from the other side of the Abuso, the deluge, the flood itself. What the pagans and their mystery teachings, or the mystery schools, the Atlantis, The story from the thing that likes the mask of the owl, the great mask, hiding the deception of wisdom while it sits on its perch, looking down at the prey that it wishes to swoop in the darkness to devour, leading all the way back to the very opening. Yots and tittles, lines and sentences, pages of Genesis. That's where the thing coming out of the drawer has its origin. But don't take my word for any of that. No. I want to let that thing there, the thing behind the veil, tell you all of that itself. Don't worry. We'll get to that. You are going to see the real deal in both this. It's that simple. We're going to be releasing a battery of videos right here on this YouTube channel that you're on. The subscribe button should be right down about in that area. The entire entities unveiling set, all available at godinanutshell.com. And may God himself bless every last one of you on the other side of this screen.